That's the reservoir, see? People jog around it, even in this weather. Crazy people, I should know. I'm one of them. Christmas Day, hurricanes, monsoons, we're out there. Will thinks we're all insane. He says he watches us with that telescope and laughs and laughs. From up here I can see his point. We look like obsessive insects, making our appointed rounds. Except that's all they are, is rounds. We're not getting anywhere in the circle of fitness that other people aren't. We all end up in the same place. Will would say that's a metaphor and why he laughs. Will's a writer. Are you sure I can't take your coat?
Oh, I'm not staying.
That view is pretty mesmerizing. I still have to pinch myself at least twice a day. The greatest city in the world, and it's right there for the taking. I don't have to do anything but look. Andre would have loved this view. As they say of London, the man who grows tired of this is the man who grows tired of life. Can I get you anything?
I'm fine, thank you.
This will amuse you, well, interest you anyway. Directly across the park from us is a legendary apartment house, 1040 Fifth Avenue. Right next to the museum. You see the obelisk? That's Cleopatra's Needle. Well, not really, it's what they call it. It's right beside the museum, the Met, the other Met. To a West Sider, and you are on the West Side, the Met is the Metropolitan Opera. To an East Sider, it's the Metropolitan Museum. If you don't know this, an out-of-towner could end up looking at a Turandot, a Rembrandt, instead of listening to Turandot. Anyway, I'm getting all tangled up in Manhattan Arcana. We have a very good view of 1040 Fifth Avenue. That's where Jackie lived. Jackie O. Mrs. Onassis, Mrs. Kennedy.
I know who you're talking about.
Andre would have loved having that for a view. He worshipped her.
Didn't we all?
Can't you see him waking up every morning, bounding over to that window and waving across the park to her? Bonjour, Jackie, ça va aujourd'hui? It would have been a ritual. I thought that might amuse you.
Very little amuses me, Mr. Porter.
It was an unfortunate word choice. I'm sorry. And please, it's Cal.
Who lives there now?
I don't know. Rich Republicans, I suspect. I don't think anyone knows or cares since Mrs. Kennedy died.
I'm sure the people who live there do. How long have you had this place?
It's getting on 9 years.
I got the address from your sister.
Penny, you've kept in touch?
Oh, not really, just Christmas cards. She also gave me your unlisted telephone number, but I thought as long as you went to all the trouble of getting an unlisted number, it was to avoid getting phone calls from people like me.
No, never. No, I'm very glad to see you. Unlisted numbers is a New York fetish. Everyone has one. The woman who cleans for us, our doorman, the super. One winter's night, Andre and I locked ourselves out, and we couldn't call anyone who might have a key. None of them had a listed number. We were frozen by the time we got in.
I used to daydream about a view like this.
Where was that?
Rye.
Rye, New York?
It's a small town, more of an enclave, really, in Westchester.
I know Rye. It's next to Portchester, which is definitely not an enclave. I even know Rye Brook. I dated someone from there. He never let me forget it. You know Mrs. Kennedy and I know Rye. Are you sure I can't get you anything in this weather to warm you up?
Before it gets too dark, where's the place where we had the...
You mean the memorial?
Can you see it from here?
You see the little bridge?
Uh-huh.
That's the Bow Bridge. It leads next to a lovely smallish lawn area. Well, a lovely smallish lawn area 9 months out of the year. This is not one of them. It leads down to a duck pond. You see it?
Oh, I remember the ducks. They had quite a lot to say for themselves that day.
You would have thought it was too cold to quack. It was 12 degrees, one of the coldest days in years.
I have never been so cold.
We all stood there in a circle and spoke.
I was the only one who didn't.
I'm sure you weren't.
Oh, it didn't matter. You and your friend said everything that possibly could have been said. I was very impressed by them. I didn't know Andre had so many friends and that they were so eloquent. Many of them were very funny.
We were attracted to people with a sense of humor.
Of course, the story about the two of you in a swimming pool in Mexico was a little risque. At least for my taste it was. Blue humor and funerals are not something I'm accustomed to.
It wasn't a funeral, Mrs. Gerard.
You know what I meant. The music at the church was so thoughtful and serious, almost spiritual. I wasn't prepared for the transition for two naked men in a swimming pool filled with gardenias.
It was pretty funny.
Guess you had to be there.
In this case, I'm very glad you aren't.
The music that the young woman sang at the church, it was so beautiful. I couldn't get it out of my head. I even tried humming it for a clerk in a record shop. Nada. He looked at me like I was crazy.
You should have asked. It was a favorite piece of ours by Mozart from a little-known opera of his, Il Re Pastore, the Shepherd King. Le amoro sarò costante. I will be constant in my love for him. I'll write it down for you. That same girl is singing at the Met now, quite successfully. Andre always predicted a big future for her. That cow, he would say, is a star.
If there are perfect moments, that was one of them. Naturally, I was disappointed to see the rest of the service descend to jokes.
It wasn't a service, Mrs. Gerard. It was a remembrance of someone we all loved and would miss. We still do.
Yes, well, except for the Mozart, it was maybe all a little too gay for my taste.
Well, there was also some Shakespeare. I read Fear No More, Heat of the Sun from Cymbeline. But except for them and a little Bach and my sister and my father and you and our dentist, our jury was still out on him. It's come in since then. Gay as a goose. I guess it was pretty gay.
I never understood that phrase, gay as a goose.
Neither did I.
Is that...
What? Where?
It looks like some sort of an amphitheater.
It's called the Delacorte Theater. They have free Shakespeare in the park. With the windows open in summer, we can hear them.
Is that where Andre...
Yes, where he played Horatio in the summer of 80. What, 8, 9?
I didn't come up that summer. His father wasn't well.
It was the same summer he played Hamlet himself in an outdoor theater in Washington, D.C. They were almost back to back.
Where are you going?
I had the poster in the hallway.
No, that's not necessary, really. It gets so dark so fast this time of year. And there's no transition from day to night. There's no dusk. It just goes right to dark. Oh, I was just saying, I almost missed this wonderful view of the park.
Well, I'm very glad you didn't. 1989, August 7th through September 3rd. There is no place hotter on earth than an outdoor theater in Washington, D.C. in late summer.
Yes, there is. Dallas, Texas.
It's starting to show its age. They didn't print this on the best stock. Oh, I'm sorry.
You might have warned me.
Would you like to sit down?
No, that's all right.
I think that you should.
All right. Thank you.
I should have realized.
What were you thinking?
I wasn't. I wasn't thinking.
We were just talking, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there he was.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
I'd forgotten how much I love this poster. Pictures in a hallway don't really get looked at all that often. Everyone's always on their way somewhere else. They're sort of non-places that way. There was a time it made me happy every time I looked at it. Of course, there was a time it made me very sad as well. I used to think maybe you should have it, but I never got around to sending it. I was being selfish. It captures so much of him. His passion, for sure, his vitality. He was a very urgent person.
Yes. Yes, he was.
There was no stopping him. He's still the best Hamlet I've ever seen. We were both sorry you missed it.
All right. I'm ready now.
Are you sure?
Well, we'll see.
We don't have to do this.
I know. It's him, all right.
It was taken when Hamlet is crying vengeance. It was his favorite moment in the play. Vengeance, sword in hand. The photographer caught him in full Andre's splendor. Talk about eyes that blaze. And he's not too hard to look at either. I believe the expression is one handsome devil. Our boy asked me once, is that an old-time pirate? I said, no, honey. That's a wonderful Hamlet on his way to being a great one. Which was more information any 4-year-old needs or cares for.
Your boy?
We have a son. My sister didn't tell you? That's okay. She didn't tell me you kept in touch all these years. I don't think he's looked at it once ever since. I thought Will might have a problem with it when we first met, but he's fine.
Will?
My husband.
Oh, that's right. You said that.
Our boy is 6. His name is Bud, and that's his real name. It's not a nickname for anything. I always liked Bud for a boy. Now it's got a little gravitas. It's on his birth certificate. Bud Ogden Porter.
Ogden Porter?
That's my husband's name. Ogden, Will Ogden.
How easily you say that word, husband.
Not always. The first few times I tried to use it, nothing came out of my mouth. I'd say, this is my You're a who? My I got so used to boyfriends or partners all those years when marriage wasn't even a thought, let alone a possibility, that it took me a while to realize that we had won and our relationship was as legitimate as everyone else's. Andre would have said that was internalized homophobia.
I'll pretend I understand what that means.
It means you become so accustomed to being unloved for who you are that you become adept at not loving yourself for who you are.
I'll still pretend.
Andre and I were what people called boyfriends then, or partners. Lovers was another word people used. We didn't like any of them. Boyfriends sounded like teenagers, partners sounded like a law firm, and lovers sounded illicit. They were all inadequate, insubstantial. And then along came the new but old but obvious name for it. It had been there all along. Husband. Who would have thought? I've come to like husband. And actually, I sort of love it. Spouse still makes me a little queasy. It's too gender neutral. It sounds either dishonest or embarrassed about the whole marriage thing. Husband cuts to the chase. This is my husband. My husband and I are interested in a season subscription. The reservations are in my husband's name.
Well, this has been very informative, Mr. Porter.
You do understand that husband wasn't a possibility then. Your son called me Cal and I called him Andre.
Well, I would hope so. It was his name, chosen with great care.
I may have gotten in a honey or two over the years.
I dislike nicknames. Andre was a challenge to those who insist on them.
Well, you succeeded. He was always Andre.
Well, I did something right then.
Andre was a wonderful person, Mrs. Gerard. Everyone liked him.
This Mr. You're
Ogden?
Yes.
Will Ogden?
Yes. Are you going to tell him our little secret?
I didn't know we had one.
This visit.
Well, of course I'll tell him. We don't have secrets.
Everyone has secrets.
We don't.
That's wonderful.
Why would this be a secret in the first place?
I was giving you an option.
An option not needed. We're always getting off to a bad start.
Well, will you tell him I'm sorry I missed him?
Well, they'll be here any minute. They're at the park. I'd really like you to meet them.
It's getting late.
The days are short. You said so yourself.
I'm glad you didn't send me the poster.
You are?
Rage and anger are not how a mother wants to remember her son. I had enough of them without a poster to remind me.
It's a picture of him as someone else. It's him, but it's not him. He's playing a part in that picture.
We all play parts, Mr. Porter. Some of them we play so long, so well, we become the part. I'm Andre's mother. You won't let me be anyone else. You can't. Neither can I. You're Andre's friend. You always will be.
We've gotten good at playing those parts.
I was still a young woman when Andre died.
I realize that now.
Now?
I'm about the same age you were when Andre died. I was cruel about age than most young people are. I treated you harshly. Too harshly, no doubt. We're not the same age, but closer. Closer.
Oh. Thank you for not saying you and Mr. Gerard have your golden years ahead. Mr. Gerard passed at Easter.
I didn't know that.
You wouldn't. You didn't ask, and there was no reason you would.
I'm so sorry.
That's all right. Everyone dies, eventually. Even 29-year-old, perfectly healthy, beautiful young men.
They shouldn't.
Well, maybe I'll get married again and adopt a child and start a new family and start all over again.
It was 8 years before I met Will, Mrs. Gerard.
And again, maybe I'll just jump out the window and have it over with. I live in the tallest condominium in Dallas. That should do it, don't you think? Thank you for asking, Mr. Porter, but Andre's mother is doing just fine.
I wouldn't know. How could I have known? Penny should have told me.
Oh, Penny didn't know. The paper said Mr. Gerard died after a long struggle with illness. I would have said after perpetual disappointment with life. He is survived by a wife, Catherine, a Yankee humdinger who never fit. A son, Andre, passed at age 29 after a short struggle with a pesky summer cough.
That's what we all thought at first.
I never felt at home in Texas.
I don't think Andre did either.
I don't like gratuitous familiarity. How y'all doing today, darling? Y'all come back real soon, you hear, sugar? I never got accustomed to being addressed as sugar by the checkout girl, black or white. Well, that's neither here nor there. You and Mr.
Ogden?
Yes.
Will Ogden?
You and Mr. Ogden, how long have you been together?
It will be 11 years this summer.
You and Andre?
We had 6 years together.
Many.
I wouldn't call 6 years many, Mrs. Gerard. Not when you plan on spending the rest of your life with someone. I really think you should have the poster.
Oh, I wouldn't know what to do with it, Mr. Porter. I'm downsizing. My life, my things, everything.
My dad downsized when he lost his lady friend.
Lady friend?
My mom passed when we were very young. I never knew her.
Oh.
Our dad raised Penny and me. And then he met someone, a widow. They never saw the point of marriage. It rocked Bethel, New Hampshire. Anything would rock Bethel, New Hampshire. Andre and I sure did the few times we visited.
Your dad seemed like a nice man.
Oh, he still is. He's 75. He's not going anywhere in the foreseeable future. His dad made it to 91. He died tapping maple syrup.
I thought maple syrup was Vermont.
Everyone does. Maple syrup doesn't recognize state lines. Ours is better.
And what about your sister?
Penny's in Soho, trying to start a family. Her and her husband are having difficulties getting her pregnant.
Oh, the Christmas cards didn't mention that.
He's a Danish architect with a fairly unpronounceable name, Bjorn Birkenfjord.
Isn't anybody in New York from New York anymore? In my day, if you lived in New York, you were from New York. It's become a city of out-of-towners. My mistake was in letting Mr. Gerard sweep me off to Texas. He said there were nice, cultured people there. He was wrong on both counts.
I liked Austin and San Antonio. My work used to take me there.
I never understood what it was you did.
Neither did Andre. I'm a money manager.
That much I knew.
Other people's money. I could explain it to you, but it's very boring, trust me.
Thank you, I will.
When my own brief fling as an actor was all too apparently going to end in perpetual unemployment, I shocked myself and Andre and became a yuppie. And surprised us both how good I was at it. But since Bud, I don't travel. That's non-negotiable. I had a lot of clients on the West Coast.
Well, it looks like you've done well for yourself. You've come a long way from Perry Street.
Will's mother helped us when the building went co-op.
Very generous of her.
That was Jean. We never got to pay her back. She died 3 months later.
I always told Andre the house in Dallas was his as soon as his father and I were gone. He said, great, now can you wrap it up and ship it up east? He could be very fresh. I wanted to slap him. He liked to tell people that he got on the bus directly from his high school graduation, came up here to the Trailways station on his own savings, which is ridiculous. He flew here on Braniff Airlines. Remember Braniff? One of their last flights. And guess who paid for it? A little sarcastic and a little uncomfortable with the truth.
Dramatic exaggeration, he called it. It was never for a mean or malicious end.
We had theater in Dallas. He was very disdainful of it.
He could be a terrible snob, too.
He came here when he was barely 18 years old. That's much too young to come to a place like New York City.
I think as a young gay man, Andre didn't feel comfortable where he was.
Andre wasn't gay when he left Dallas.
Okay.
He came to New York to be an actor. That's a beautiful fire.
It's a gas fireplace. The logs are some type of ceramic material.
It's very realistic.
It doesn't give off much heat.
I can feel it.
If you'd like, I
No,
can...
no, thank you.
I guess air conditioning is more of a necessity where you are.
We have our cold spells. We call them northers. Blue northers. They come sweeping down from the Great Plains. Some of them can be merciless.
I wish you'd call me Cal.
All right, if you like. Cal.
Thank you. And I would like to call you Catherine.
It's my name.
Well, that's settled.
And it only took us 20 years. Is it warm in here, or... Look, I just came by to give it to
Let me
you.
take your coat.
No, really, I'll be late. I'm going to...
Please.
All right, if you insist. Don't let the label fool you. It says Neiman Marcus, but I actually got it from a second-hand fur shop. Andre's father had a heart attack when I brought it home. I had to show him the receipt so he could know I didn't bankrupt him. He could be such a Scrooge about money. I hope Andre kept his sense of humor about money. He got that from me.
Andre always said he was more like you than Mr. Gerard.
He was. But he would have been furious if I said that. I always thought one of the tragedies of Andre's life was that he and his father didn't get along better.
One of the tragedies?
He might still be alive.
I didn't kill Andre, Mrs. Gerard.
I'm not saying that, Mr. Porter.
I didn't give him AIDS.
The way he chose to live his life did.
It wasn't a choice.
Everything is a choice.
I didn't make him gay either.
Well, I didn't. I hate that word. It used to mean something good, something positive. A good time was had by all. I guess we lost that battle, too.
I'd say you lost every battle.
Except one. I don't have to approve.
I suppose you're right. Excuse me.
Where are you going now? No more surprises.
There's something else I want you to see.
Were you always this stubborn? You met your match in Andre. Once he got something in his mind, there was no changing his mind after that. Before he wanted to be an actor, he was going to be a dancer. We took him to see a musical once, Pal Joey. He couldn't possibly have understood what was going on the stage, but for the next year, he was tapping and jetéing all over Dallas.
I have had this box of odds and ends for years. We threw everything in here, photos, notes, clippings.
Oh, God, am I supposed to go through that?
I'm sure you'll find something you want.
Oh, I knew this was going to be a mistake. I'm trying to get rid of things, not add to the heap. New buildings can be merciless about closet space.
Excuse me, we're not expecting anyone.
Well, you weren't expecting me either. Maybe it's your sister. I liked her the one time we met.
Yes, Louis, what is it? I have company. If it's a package, you can give it to Will when he... Will, what's wrong? Again, I'll be right down. Will left without his keys and the doorman's on a break. I'll be right back.
I won't steal anything. Hampton Beach, New Hampshire. It's still there. Of course it's still there, Catherine. It's a beach. Beaches don't go anywhere. Oh, my God. A man in a bathing suit like this in Dallas would be arrested. A woman? What are you doing in here, sweetie? Another one. Oh, my God, it's me. You weren't too bad looking, Catherine. How beautiful he was. I must have been pregnant with him in this one. Who knew he had these? Hello.
Who are you?
I'm Andre's mother. Who are you?
I'm Bart. I live here. Who's Andre?
An old friend of your father's,
Pop Pop?
Mr. Porter.
Is he a friend of Pecky too?
I don't think so.
Why not?
Is Bud giving you the third degree, Mrs. Gerard? I'm sorry. He's very inquisitive. There hasn't been a question he hasn't asked. I'm Will Ogden.
Where is he?
Who?
Andre.
I'm afraid he's passed, honey.
Past? What does that mean, past?
Andre's dead.
Well, why didn't you say so?
Well, it's another way of saying it.
Dead's better.
Excuse how we look, Mrs. Gerard. Everything has turned into mush. I think our hopes for a white Christmas are fading. I guess we'll have to settle for a gray slushy one. We can't seem to keep this one off the swings no matter how cold it gets.
We think he's got a little Eskimo in him.
Bud and I know you mean Inuit, don't we, darling?
What's Eskimo?
I'm sorry this is a thing between us. You're right, Makeover. My bad.
Cal didn't tell us we were going to have company this evening.
Oh, he didn't know. This is an impromptu visit. I should have called.
Nonsense. You're very welcome.
Do you want help with your boots, honey?
No, that's okay. I saw one of my pictures at the park.
What brings you to New York?
Oh, nothing brings me, nothing specific.
That's all right. You never need a reason to visit the Big Apple.
Well, I'm on my way to Europe. Actually, I'm going to spend Christmas Eve in Rome.
Oh, are you Catholic?
No. Do I have to be to spend Christmas Eve in Rome?
You'll love Rome at Christmas. It's magical. I spent my junior year abroad there. Trastevere is fantastic this time of year. Too many tourists miss it.
Trastevere?
It's across the neighborhood, across the river in Rome. Trastevere, it means across the Tiber. I stayed in a building built in the 14th century. No hot water, no private bath, but an amazing view of a 12th century convent. Oh, Trastevere, where I was young. Trastevere, where I would have gotten enormously fat had I stayed a month longer. In fact, the greatest restaurant in the entire world is there. I'll write the name down for you before you go. Cal, have you offered Mrs. Gerard anything?
I offered several times.
And I declined several times.
But this time you'll have what, Mrs. Gerard? And please tell me you're not one of those martini sort of women, because I have no idea how to make one of those.
I can make one. I think we have gin.
My martini days are behind me, but a scotch, neat, I wouldn't say no to.
Doers?
That was Andre's scotch of choice. And what are you gentlemen having?
Oh, Cal doesn't drink.
One too many martinis of my own.
And I never did.
Well, you're no fun, either one of you. Hey, Bud, you want to tie one on with an old woman? Catherine.
Your grown-up name.
Mrs. Gerard.
Where's Mr. Gerard?
He's passed, too.
He's dead too.
Like Andre. Mr. Gerard passed a few months ago.
What happened to him?
Mr. Gerard had cancer.
What kind?
Lung cancer.
My friend Albert's mother had cancer. She has tubes and talks funny.
Okay, but that's enough. Let Mrs. Gerard enjoy her drink.
Suddenly I need it. Thank you, Mr. Osgood.
Ogden. Cheers.
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 How did your little boy die?
That's a long, complicated story.
Bud knows what AIDS is.
You learned about it at school. When did he die?
Well, he died,
But that's enough. I'm sorry, Mrs. Gerard.
Don't apologize for him. He has questions.
It's all right. Andre died March 29th, 1994.
That was a long time ago.
20 years. He was 29. How old are you?
How are you?
That's enough, young
A
man.
lot older than you. I don't mind.
Did he die of AIDS?
We're not really sure.
We saw a documentary about the quilt on All Days Day.
A quilt?
It had the names of my friends who died from it.
On a quilt?
Andre's name is on it.
His full name?
It was important to me.
His first and last names?
I didn't think I needed your permission.
I'm sorry your little boy died.
So am I.
I'll let you be my grandmother. I don't have one. I have lots of aunts and uncles and godfathers and godmothers, but I don't have a grandmother. I have a grandfather in Vermont, but he can't hear anything.
Grandpa's in New Hampshire.
You don't know me well enough to be your grandmother.
I didn't know any of them before either. family just grow. I didn't even like some of them.
You might not like me.
I like you. You're cool.
I like you too.
I warn you, Mrs. Gerard, he does not take no for an answer.
Excuse me, but is there a little girl's room?
Yes, of course, right through here.
Excuse me.
You can't miss it.
Thank you.
Did I hear that right? Little girl's room? Who says little girl's room anymore?
We make her nervous.
She makes you nervous. An Eskimo? What was that about?
I didn't think she'd know what Inuit meant.
She probably doesn't, but that's not the point. Who did you tell her Bud and I were? Your roommates?
Very funny.
Jesus, Cal, you should have warned us.
I told you in the elevator. She just stopped by.
People live in New York so other people don't stop by. People move to New York so other people don't stop by.
What was I supposed to do? Tell her she couldn't come up?
We had plans tonight, family plans.
That's not going to change.
All these years, you've made her out to be this monster, this gorgon of mythological proportions, and now she just drops by?
I assumed I'd never see her again. I even wondered if she was still alive. She's the last person in the world I ever expected to see on our doorstep.
What do you want me to do?
She just lost her husband. Try to be nice to her.
I can promise to be civil, but not nice. She wouldn't take my hand when I offered it to her.
Are you fighting?
No, honey, we're just, we're expressing a strong dismay at an unforeseen turn of events.
Well, we didn't know that Mrs. Gerard was coming by.
I like her. She's nice.
She's very nice.
Pop-Pop and Mrs. Gerard's son used to live together.
The way you and Pop-Pop live together?
They weren't married.
We didn't have a wonderful son like you.
Why not?
People didn't do that then.
They couldn't.
Why not?
The world wasn't ready for the three of us. We were waiting for you.
And we're very glad we did.
Okay, are we still gonna trim the tree tonight?
Absolutely. After dinner, we're going to get our pajamas on and make that tree look amazing. You're in charge of the icicles.
What are we having for dinner?
Spaghetti al vongole.
Yay!
How else to celebrate the holidays but with your spaghetti al vongole?
What's she doing in there?
It hasn't been that long.
She's going through our medicine cabinet.
Don't be ridiculous.
Of course she is. It's human nature.
What's human nature?
It's the way people are, whether they can help it or not. Your human nature is that you are going to take a bath. Pop-Pop's is that he's nice to everyone, even to people who disapprove of him. And mine is that I was naive enough to think I'd heard the last of Andre.
This isn't about Andre.
I think I've dealt with a man I've never met before pretty goddamn well.
You have from the very beginning.
Well, I wasn't going to compete with a ghost.
You didn't have to.
Well, he didn't sign on for his mother.
What was I supposed to do?
Not let her into our space.
You're fighting.
No, we're not fighting. Okay, Buster?
Look, I know Andre was a wonderful man, that he was everything you've ever wanted.
Yes, he was. And then I met you. Do you know how much I adore you?
Yes, but she's not staying for dinner.
Did you get a haircut?
About a week ago, don't change the subject.
I'm happy we're married, are you?
Over the moon. The divorce is going to be spectacular.
That's not even remotely funny. I can't imagine what my life would be without you.
Me either.
I love the wallpaper in there, very bold. Who's the decorator?
Cal.
Will.
I'm terrible at decorating.
Come on, Buster. Let's get you into that bath.
Will you be here when I come back?
Oh, probably not.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
It was nice meeting you, Mrs. Gerard. Please say hello to Rome for us.
He forgot my restaurant.
I'll get it soon.
That's all right. Little empty promises if we had a nickel for every one of them we make.
I'll be sure he does.
Your little boy is a very self-possessed young man. Intelligent, too, I dare say.
We're very lucky. He has his terrorist side, too, of course. It's not all fun and games. Someone should have told us. They did, of course, but we aren't good listeners when we really want something.
Is he a good father?
Well, I couldn't ask for a better one. comes so naturally to Will. I think it's generational. I never expected to be a father. He never expected not to be one. He made it very clear early in the relationship he wanted a family. I almost bolted.
Why didn't you?
I was afraid he'd leave me. Either way, I was scared. Now, to imagine my life without them, I don't think I knew who I fully was until our son was born. I'm so much more than I thought I was. I'm more generous, more interesting, more resourceful. I can do things I didn't know I could do before. Maybe even more or less self-centered, or maybe more self-delusional and haven't changed at all.
Children aren't the answer.
This one is. Did you find anything you'd like?
I haven't really looked.
That was his first review. I don't know why he saved it. It wasn't very good.
I sent it to him.
Why?
I was proud of him. I didn't care what some critic thought.
That's us in Paris.
American men shouldn't wear berets. It makes them look desperate.
Desperate?
To be something they're not.
What would that be?
French.
We grew out of our beret phrase rather quickly. They made their last appearance one Halloween when we went as Jean-Paul Sartre and Simone de Beauvoir.
Interesting choice.
Too interesting. Our friends thought we were Yves Montand and Simone Signoret.
Who went as Sartre?
Andre, I went as Simone.
I don't suppose there's a picture.
Oh, I don't know. They're all mixed up. He would just throw everything in there. I told him he needed an album, a scrapbook.
Well, if I find something I like, don't tell me you're going to be an Indian giver and want it back. Was that politically incorrect, Indian giver?
Yes, but your secret is safe with me. Just as I hope my Eskimo is safe with you.
I don't understand.
I should have said Inuit, but I didn't think you'd know what that meant.
Living in Dallas has not made me a complete Neanderthal.
Will was right to call me on it. We set standards for Bud, which mean absolutely nothing unless you maintain them 24/7. I still slip on words like Madam Chairman. It comes so easy for Will. I think it's generational. I have to work at it. I expect you do too.
Where was this one taken?
Nantucket.
Ooh, very la-di-da.
Well, maybe parts of Nantucket, but certainly not this one. We rented an apartment behind a dry cleaners for 2 weeks.
Well, when you grow up in Port Chester, New York, all of Nantucket is extremely la-di-da.
I thought you were from Rye.
They're cheap by jowl. They're interchangeable, really.
Andre said, you told everyone in Texas you were from Rye.
Until just now, I thought that was our little secret.
He thought it was funny. He'd say, as if the people in Texas know the difference between Rye and Port Chester, Cal.
I did. You do.
I'm sorry.
I'm glad it amused you. I wonder how many of our other little secrets he shared with you.
I'm sure that was the only one. He was never disrespectful of you.
Well, I guess I should be thankful for small favors.
Even when you didn't come.
Who are these people?
That's Will's family.
There's a lot of them.
I've forgotten how many uncles and aunts and nephews and nieces and first and second cousins he has. There's hardly a month without a graduation, a recital, a contribution to a tooth fairy. Sometimes I see the rest of my life being measured by Ogden gatherings. I always wanted a big family. It was only me and my sister growing up. And then, all at once, I had an enormous one. And before I knew it, Will and I were starting one of our own. Here, give those to me. I'll take them. I don't know how they got in there.
We were a small family, too. Maybe too small. I was an only child, my husband was an only child, and Andre was an only child. Christmas Eve, we'd just sit around looking at each other. The presents were opened by 10. We would turn on the midnight mass from St. Peter's just to have something to do.
So that's why Andre always wanted to turn that on.
Let me finish, Mr. Porter, please. And then one day the call came from you telling me that Andre was gone. I almost didn't pick up the phone. I think I knew. And then there was just the two of us. Then Mr. Gerard up and died, and then there was only me. I said up and died. Nobody ups and dies. He was sick for years. We knew it was coming, and still, when it does.
Yep.
And then, pretty soon, there'll be none. And then that's the end of it. There's no more Gerards where they came from. It's really very sad when you think of it. You and Mr. Ogden don't have to worry about that.
That's not why we chose to have a family, Mrs. Gerard.
It's not?
I told you why.
Not really. Who's this?
A friend of Andre's. His name is Jeb. He's an actor. They met in the Berkshires doing summer stock. Will and I chose to have a family because we wanted to share the happiness we feel as a couple with a child, as well as the good fortune and privilege we enjoy.
Well, I'm sure there are plenty of unfortunate children out there who would like to share in your happiness and what you call your privilege and good fortune.
We didn't want to adopt.
I'm not criticizing. Who was he, this Jeb? A lover?
For a summer. Andre said it was more of a fling than a romance. It was before me, obviously. They remained friends. I think you met him at the memorial.
So he's not the one who gave Andre AIDS?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Who do you think did then?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I don't know.
Didn't you ask him?
No. I wanted to. I thought about it a lot, quite a lot. I made myself sick thinking about it.
Well, I would have asked him and he would have told me.
Did it ever occur to you that maybe he didn't know? It could have been any one of us. We were all suspect. I had myself tested once a month, just in case.
In case of what?
I don't know, just in case. I had to be sure, for me, for Andre.
Well, I would have found out who did that to Andre and I would have killed him.
We didn't do that.
Maybe you should have.
I fantasized about it.
I would have made it my business to.
I had my suspicions.
Suspicions?
That's all they were. No, not even that.
So you never did anything about it?
I was in enough pain of my own. Andre was dying. I couldn't save him. Everyone was dying. I couldn't save any of them. Something was killing us, something ugly. Everyone was talking about it, but nobody was doing anything. What would killing each other have accomplished? We didn't have time to hate. There was so much anger and fear in the face of so much death. We learned to help each other. Help each other in ways we never had before. It was the first time in my life I ever felt a part of something. A community. So thank you for that, I suppose. I wanted to kill the world when Andre was diagnosed. But I took care of him instead. I bathed him. I cleaned him up. I told him I loved him, even when he was ashamed of what this disease had done to him. He wasn't very beautiful when he died, Mrs. Gerard. Our very own plate took care of that. Andre had slept with someone other than me, but I had to forgive him. He was one of the unlucky ones. I'm not saying your son was promiscuous, Mrs. Gerard.
I'm sure he wasn't.
But he wasn't faithful either, monogamous. Not that we had taken marriage vows. We weren't allowed to then. It wasn't a possibility. Relationships like mine and Andre's didn't dignify marriage. They weren't supposed to last. Maybe that's why AIDS happened.
Oh, I remember this place. Don't tell me where it is. I must have gone there on a field trip as a girl.
It's Independence Hall in Philadelphia.
I asked you not to tell me. Of course it is, the Liberty Bell.
Actually, Andre put me at risk.
This young man isn't wearing any clothes.
I didn't know we were going to be doing this.
Well, I hope I'm not going to find my son in the altogether in here.
Did you hear what I said?
Yes. They're so young. They're all so young.
I'm sorry I told you. I don't think he could help himself.
I'd like this picture of him. I always loved how he looked in a jacket and tie.
Which was almost never. We must have been going somewhere fancy.
May I?
Of course, we're the only two people in the world they mean anything to.
Thank you. I'd like this one too. May I?
Take as many as you want.
Thank you.
Papa!
Your turn, he wants you.
We have company.
Papa!
Cal is Papa. I'm happy.
As in Little Abner.
As in who?
Nobody remembers Little Abner.
I do. What's wrong?
You bought the wrong bubbles.
Papa!
I'll be right back, excuse me.
Papa!
Him in those fucking bubbles. I'm coming, honey!
I'm sorry, but I don't think that kind of language is appropriate when a child might be present.
What, honey? Oh, fucking. Oh, excuse me. I completely agree. One of our hard and fast rules is, well, not in front of the Bambino. Saying honey in public still turns a few heads. Please get those paper towels, aisle 7, honey. It still rattles the occasional cage. Gay dads merit more than just some passing interest, even in this metropolis known as Manhattan. Let me refresh your drink.
Oh, no, I really should be on my way.
No. Cal will blame me if you're gone when he comes back.
Have you thought about what you're going to tell the boy once he asks? And he's going to ask. You can bet your life on that.
The boy? Oh, you mean Bud. Asks what?
Who he is, where he came from.
We're dealing with it, little by little, day by day.
You're very confident.
So are you.
Where did you two gentlemen meet?
First of all, thank you for not saying boys.
Well, you're not. Clearly, either one of you.
I'm serious. Do you boys have any plans for the holidays? Or any of you boys going home for them? You'd be surprised how often we hear boys, so thank you.
Clearly, there's an age difference.
15 years.
Oh.
I was born in
You
19...
can spare me the math.
Ooh, you're prickly.
Andre and Mr. Porter were the same age.
I never let Cal forget that I'm younger than him. Keeps him on his toes. I'm waiting for the day he comes home with an earring and a tattoo. Oh, please let me know if I'm bantering.
You have a beautiful place here.
Oh, thank you. We like it. It could use a redecorating, but we're letting Bud wreak havoc on it for a few more years before we seriously consider remodeling.
I understand you're a writer. I still don't understand what Mr. Porter does.
Neither do I. Something about managing money and other people's, and a lot of it. Bud and I are so well provided for. He goes to a great school while I'm at home all day working on my novel. Well, that's what I am anyway, a novelist.
Might you have written a novel I would have read?
Yes, but not yet.
You are confident.
Not really. I did have a few short stories published. Do you read The New Yorker?
I'm a subscriber. I like to keep up.
Well, they published one of my novels last summer. It was called Diamond Head. It had nothing to do with Hawaii. It took place in Brooklyn in a 24-hour diner called Diamond Head. Everybody was very alienated. It was very depressing.
Well, I don't really read their fiction. I stopped after Salinger.
That was before I was born. Anyway, they're sort of muscle flexing for my novel. That's what my agent calls them anyway. It'll be my first.
Does it have a title?
Yes, it does, but I can't tell you. It's bad luck.
Well, the world loves a good novel. We're still waiting for the great American one.
Well, I'm going to give it my best shot. Are you boys okay in there?
I thought writers needed quiet, concentration.
They do, but they're in short supply with a 6-year-old. Everybody said that we needed a nanny for Bud, so we hired one. But then we realized that we just loved doing everything ourselves, so we let her go. I guess the great American novel can wait. Who knows? Maybe I'll find a way before then. Oh, to answer your question, Cal and I met online.
I don't understand.
We met on the internet?
Oh, I'm completely in the dark when it comes to internets.
Oh, it's just how people meet nowadays. You go to a website. There's something for everyone. Christian couples, foxy ladies, Mormon, you name it. Not very romantic, but it gets the job done. So I saw Cal's picture and I read his profile. It said that Moby Dick was his favorite book. I'm a sucker for men who love Melville and who look like Cal, and whose favorite singer is Ella Fitzgerald. 30 minutes later, we met at Gray's Papaya on Broadway and West 77th Street, a place even less romantic than Manhunt. Even with his back turned, I knew it was him. So I went up to the counter, I ordered, and I took a deep breath and I said to this completely perfect stranger, "Call me Ishmael." Cal doesn't believe in love at first sight. He thinks love takes time. I think it's how you look into each other's eyes for the first time. If they're not looking back at you, it's not going to happen.
Is either one of you the father?
Oh, we both are.
I mean the actual father.
We both are.
Everything I say is inappropriate.
It's just uninformed. What would you like to know?
I'm merely trying to determine if either one of you is the biological father.
Well, we used my sperm. We thought it would be healthier with me being younger and the eggs of an anonymous donor. Once the magic of the embryo happened in a petri dish, our lesbian friend Roberta brought Bud to term. Although we didn't know we were going to have a son, Cal didn't want to know the sex. He wanted to be surprised. I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait at all. I was into this whole baby thing from the start. The doctors, the procedures, the sonograms, all the parents to be gay and straight. Completely amazing, all of it. I was a gay man and I was going to be a father. I think I told just about everybody, "I'm a gay man and I'm going to be a father." Oh, it's just incredible. The whole entire experience of being a parent. I tell Cal it's better than crack. I look at Bud sometimes and I just start crying. He catches me, of course, and he says, "Happy, is anything wrong? What's the matter?" "Nothing, honey. I'm just so happy you're here."
So there's really nothing of Andre in him, is there?
Why would there be?
Of course. What a foolish thing to say.
He's wearing his goggles and trying to see how long he can hold his breath underwater. We found the right bubbles. He toiled Dave Harry.
Who sent him that stuff anyway? Which one of his fairy godfathers?
Jeremy.
Oh, we're raising Bud to be gay. That's our only expectation for him. God forbid we should allow him to turn out the way he wants to be.
Will is joking, of course. We're not raising Bud to be anything.
Andre used to love bubble baths.
There you go.
Will.
What are you doing here, Mrs. Trort? What do you want? You know, it's awfully suspicious in there. Suspiciously quiet. Oh my God, I'm turning into my mother.
I thought only women turned into their mothers.
Men have gotten to be very good at it. Don't let me forget to write the name down of that restaurant for you.
My mother was a wonderful woman. Everyone loved her, especially Andre.
Andre tried to communicate with you.
Oh, no, he didn't. He led his secret, furtive life up here and left his father and me in the dark. He thought he was fooling us. His father, maybe, but I always knew. I always knew.
Your disapproval frightened him, and it's making me sick to my stomach all over again. You haven't changed.
People don't change. That's one of the lies we tell ourselves.
People have to want to change.
Maybe that's it.
That's honest.
Oh, I knew this was a mistake. I should have just sent this back to you.
I'm not even sure I want it. Andre would have killed me for sending it to you in the first place. He didn't think people kept diaries for other people to read.
That is popular belief.
Thought people needed someplace safe. Safe from everyone else.
I have held that thing for hours. I pressed it to my heart, but I've never opened it.
Neither did I. When he was alive or when he was gone.
You should have destroyed it.
I couldn't. I didn't have the right. I still don't. I loved Andre, but I didn't want to know his secrets.
So you sent them on to me?
I wondered if they would ever somehow find their way back to me.
Only if I brought them.
I thought this day might come.
We both did.
I guess I've been expecting you.
I almost didn't come this time, either.
Either?
The last time we were in New York, I called. When you answered, I hung up, and I don't speak to answering machines. Next time I called, someone else answered.
Will, probably.
But I found out what I wanted to know. You weren't alone anymore.
I was alone for 8 years. 8 shitty years. When all I learned was how to make money.
And then there was Papaya House and Moby Dick.
He told you?
The gist. Just the gist.
At first I was embarrassed about Will. Not his age. I worry about it more than he does. He knows what he's getting himself into. But it felt like a betrayal of Andre. Of us. Even after 8 years. How much could I have loved Andre if I loved Will the way I do now?
Yes. How can you?
I don't know. I don't pretend to understand these things. I honestly think Hal sent Will to me.
I wish he'd do the same for his mother.
Would you let him?
I don't understand how my life turned out the way it did. I don't know how I'm supposed to think or feel about anything anymore. I'm confused. I'm frightened. I'm angry about almost anything. That coffee table could put me in a rage. Thank God for Jeopardy, and even that's starting to annoy me. I've started taking the bus everywhere in Dallas just because it takes longer to get places than if I drive myself. It's usually late, which makes me even angrier. People like me don't take the bus in Dallas, Mr. Porter. Buses are for help. And then once I've gotten to wherever it is I was going, I can't bring myself to leave wherever it is I've gone.
I've noticed that.
I really have thought of taking my own life. I'm a widow. My only child predeceased me. No grandchildren. I don't like most people, and I think it's pretty safe to assume most people don't like me. I'm not a joiner. My eyes are going, so reading is hard. I never liked cooking. I used to hate mealtime, now I detest it. I could go on. So really, is there any point in my drawing another breath?
That's a very poor solution, Mrs. Gerard.
It's a good thing you're not a therapist. A woman on television drank a whole bottle of Clorox. It didn't work. They rescued her. Imagine going to all the trouble of killing yourself and they rescue you. Well, I thought it was funny. It's a stupid program. They're all stupid.
Have you ever been in therapy?
The very notion of spilling your guts to a complete stranger and then paying him for the privilege? What, are you going to charge me for this? Forget it. Forget I said anything at all. Hey, how about them Yankees?
Andre thought of suicide when things got really bad. I'm very glad he didn't. I know, that was selfish of me. We stuck it out together. Some together. They put him through hell trying to keep him alive. Some of the treatments were unbearably painful. You don't want to know. They were trying to find a cure, and they didn't care how they went about it. That's not fair. They were desperate to find one, but time wasn't on our side. One of our best friends was diagnosed 18 years ago. 2 years after Andre died. He's skiing in Park City as we speak. Today, Andre would be alive. We probably wouldn't have a child. There might be a Tony Award on the mantle. He was good. Really, really good, Mrs. Gerard. You should have come up to see him the summer he played Hamlet. We would have just celebrated our 25th anniversary. And doing our best to grow old gracefully together. I don't know what else to tell you. I wasn't expecting this. This was just going to be another day.
Do you ever worry about forgetting him?
A little bit, sure. But not the best part of him. Sometimes I panic I can't remember the color of his eyes.
Gray.
Okay, he's got his snorkel on and he's practicing his dead man's float, so don't have a heart attack if you go in and find him that way. Oh, I have the name of that restaurant for you. Il Gatto Bianco, the White Cat. It's just across the river in Piazza San... I'm sorry, am I interrupting?
Your husband has been telling me what he thinks of me.
That's not true.
And what is that?
That I'm a terrible woman. That men are noble, good. Men are to be loved. Whereas women, mothers especially, are evil, cunning, vile even. Pity the young man who has a mother such as Andre's. He was doomed to a life of AIDS.
This is unspeakable. I'd hoped you'd let Andre go, that some part of you accepted our loss.
It will never be our loss. You lost a man and quickly found other men. I lost a son.
I'm sorry. I will always be
Not
sorry.
good enough. Not good enough. The two of you, this fancy apartment, a child of your own who will no doubt grow up to cure cancer and take the men's title at Wimbledon. Any mother would be proud to have a son like that. Maybe I'll order one myself. How much do they cost? What other tangible evidence of happiness haven't you shown me yet? Why did your life get better after Andre and mine got worse? Why haven't you been punished?
I can't help you.
Cal, talk to her.
What? Buddy, are you still in there? You'll turn into a prude.
I know we can't understand your loss, Mrs. Gerard, but we're trying to respect it. If anything happened to me before my mother died, I kind of felt that she thought something would happen to me. A lot of parents did. I guess she was kind of relieved when I met Cal. Loss, it's such a terrible word.
I know what loss means.
Then try to respect Cal's. He lost more than your son. He lost an entire generation. People who might have mattered. Hamlets, Uriams, Melvilles, Whitmans, men who wanted to write the great American novel too.
Why are you telling me this?
Because people like Cal have been punished enough, Mrs. Gerard. I try to think about those years with him and Andre, but I don't get very far. The mind shuts down, or the capacity to care.
Yes,
It's
well,
just
I
one
don't
way
have
of
that
feeling.
luxury.
Of course you don't. But neither does Cal. What happened to gay men in the final decades of the 20th century? Maybe it'll be a chapter in a history book, and then a paragraph, and then a footnote. People will shake their heads and say, "Oh, what a terrible thing that's happened. How sad." It's already starting to happen. I can feel it happening. All the raw edges of pain, dulled, deadened, and drained away.
I know what I did wrong. I didn't go out and find another Andre just as soon as I could.
I am not another Andre.
No one knows that better than I. It is presumptuous of you to think you could ever take his place.
Cal didn't want another Andre.
There is no other Andre! Only mine, and he is gone forever, and I will mourn him forever. I don't want peace or closure, another word I hate. I want revenge. Take my picture. I'm my own poster. I'm Hamlet. Vengeance!
You won't find it here.
Then where?
I don't know, but not in our home.
Home. This isn't a home, it's an apartment. I hate it when people call their apartments homes.
You say hate a lot.
I dislike imprecision. You're a writer, so should you.
I said he could stay in another 5 minutes. We don't have a child, we have a fish.
I still want to know what you're going to tell him when he outgrows bathtubs.
I told you.
Easier said than done, Mr.
Ogden.
Ogden. Easier said than done.
What's this? AG?
It's a diary Andre kept. I sent it to Mrs. Gerard quite a few years ago, and now she's returning it to me.
I bought it for Andre for his 18th birthday.
I didn't know that.
A.G. He hated the initials on the cover. He thought they were tacky. I thought they were classy. A.G. It's the very last trace of him that he ever existed.
There isn't a day I don't think of him.
How does that make Mr. Porter's second husband feel?
I'm Cal's first husband.
I stand corrected.
I'm glad Cal was in a good relationship before he met me. We were never young together. I didn't see him screw things up the way he sees me screw things up. He was his own man, all perfect and evolved in his own way before I even met him. I think Andre had something to do with that.
He did. What are you doing?
Aren't you the least bit curious? Very legible handwriting. 4th of July weekend, the Pines. Parker lent us his house while he was on jury duty.
What are the Pines?
A community on Fire Island?
A gay community. Who's us?
I don't know.
Who's Parker?
I don't know.
I'm bound to be in there somewhere. It won't be flattering.
I told my mother I was on the Cape, as if she knew what the Pines were, let alone Fire Island. The Pines is the new Port Chester. Lord, what fools we mortals be.
I told you so.
It's a beautiful day. Enjoy it while it lasts. Rain tomorrow. Right now the ocean is blue, perfect surf. I didn't want to get out, but I have to run lines. It's my first Albie. The theater said he's coming all the way from Providence. And I want to be good. There's a beautiful sailboat way out on the horizon. Parker has great binoculars. Probably on its way to Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard. Anyway, I'm just breathing and feeling the sun and enjoying the sea breeze and wondering why life can't always be like this. The cute guy in the house next door just came out onto his deck again. To be continued. It's been more than 5 minutes and, well, this is between the two of you. Coming, bud.
Bud likes one of us to dry him after a tub.
Andre used to love my mother to dry him off after a tub. She would stand him on the toilet seat and put a bath towel between his two little legs and run it back and forth. Seesaw, seesaw, she'd say. I never approved. I don't think it's proper to touch a child down there. I don't know why I told you that. And no, I don't think Andre turned out gay because my mother ran a bath towel between his legs and went seesaw, seesaw.
I wasn't going to say that.
But that's what you were thinking, I was thinking.
Nothing made Andre gay.
I didn't.
Read. From anywhere.
the city. We're a hit. The local cricket said that he always called them crickets
I know.
instead of critics. The local cricket said I had a lot of talent and a very bright future. I can't.
He's your son.
Cal bought a Nordic track and he's taking a lot of vitamins. I think he's scared. We both know I put him at risk, but we don't talk about it. It's our own elephant in the room. I'm not a bad person, just a very flawed one. Cal deserves so much better than me. Should I stop? One day we're going to beat this thing. The next, I'm dying. Cal is a rock. I am blessed. My family would never have been able to handle this.
I wasn't a rock. But I'm glad he thought so.
Meet the cleanest young man in Central Park West. You clean up pretty good for a little boy, buddy bud bud.
I'm not a little boy, I'm almost 7. We left our apartment, my friend gave me this ring. Spider-Man is so close to a window, you can almost touch him.
You're lucky to have 2 dads to keep you from falling out.
And I have a cookie.
You know where they are.
Would you like some, Andre's mother?
No, thank you. I'd like you to call me Catherine.
Happy?
Sure.
Well, I should get going. I'm going to be very late and...
For what? You said you don't have any friends, especially here in the big cold city.
Well, the Algonquin and I are not total strangers. The Dorothy Parker suite and I have become quite good friends.
Andre loved Dorothy Parker.
Who do you think got him reading her?
Our doorman can help you get a cab. Unfortunately, this is the worst time of night to find one. They have all their off-duty lights on.
Pappy! Ow!
Pappy's coming. I got this.
You should have held me that day in the park. I'd lost Andre too. Instead, you made me feel ashamed and unwanted, just as you'd made Andre feel. You weren't strong against people like you then. You held all the cards. He wanted your love all his life. So much, he had to pretend that he didn't. So did I that day. God forgive me. I wanted you to love me, for loving Andre. I wanted to forgive you. I don't anymore. I don't care. If you hadn't done this, I wonder if I would have ever thought of you ever again. No offense, but I don't think news of your passing is going to make the New York Times, Mrs. Gerard, and there truly will be none. The sad part is, this thing that brought us together, and could still tear us apart, it's still going on. Young men are still falling in love, but some of them are being infected, and some of them are still dying. If anything like that happened to Bud, or Will, yeah, there's that possibility too. I would be devastated, but I would not reject either one of them. I'm Will's husband, not his judge. I'm Bud's father, not his scourge. If that were my son, in that bed in St. Vincent's, writhing, wasting, incoherent, incontinent, I would want him to know how much I loved him. How much I would always love him. I did the best I could for Andre. I hope to this day it was enough. Being a parent has made me quite defenseless. It's a good thing I don't want anything from you anymore. I'll get your coat.
I couldn't hold you when I didn't have my son to hold. I still can't.
Jesus Christ, woman, reach out to someone. Let someone in.
There's so much I want to say that isn't about Andre. It's about me, and only me, as if I were the only person in the world, which is how I've always felt. There were other people, a mother, a father, a husband. It didn't matter. I was still alone. And then there was Andre, and everything was going to be fine. He was going to fix it. He didn't even come close. Maybe when he fell down and I soothed him until he stopped crying, I felt a connection. When he was in pain, I was his mother. When he needed me, like what's happening in there. Don't confuse that for love. It means caring. It means concern. It doesn't mean love. I saw Andre give more of himself to the dog than he gave me.
That's life. We've all felt that. It's life being ridiculous.
It was a dachshund turning gray. He tried to dye it with some of my hair color. It didn't work.
That sounds like Andre.
I'm the only person who ever thought Andre was a difficult child. He was smarter than anyone. He had secrets. He was so remote. I didn't know where he'd go in his head. I just wanted him to take me with him. Anywhere away from Dallas. And a husband I didn't love and didn't try to love. He was unlovable. Some people are, you know. I've turned into one of them. But I would have married anyone who would have taken me out of Portchester, even if it was just across the railroad tracks into Rye. But Mr. Gerard wanted to go west, young man, which was ridiculous, because he wasn't a young man, and Dallas isn't the West, it's Dallas. I remain a Yankee. I need 4 seasons. I need to talk to people who know what time it is. I don't suffer fools. I was a smart young woman. I thought I was going to die with that secret. My father worked for the post office. My mother spent her days cooking and cleaning and washing and baking. And we ate all our meals on a table covered with an oilcloth. With my Portchester High diploma, I went to work for a dentist. Dr. Minnerly. Dr. Payne, his patients called him. He didn't believe in Novocaine. I hated him. And I hated my job. You can tell your husband I know how much I use that word. He didn't score any points there. And every week I saved my money until I had enough to buy myself an evening gown that would get me into the Rye Country Club spring dance where I knew I would find my savior. And I did. And I got him to marry me like that, and I didn't have to get knocked up to get him to do it like all of my girlfriends. I turned on the charm. I can, when I want to. I've even shown you a glimpse of it. And I always had great legs. I still do. Andre got his legs from me. He had beautiful legs for a man.
Yes, he did.
And I thought I could be happy for a little bit. I don't know what I mean by happy anymore. I thought I did then. Content, not jealous, able to stop jiggling. I'm a nervous woman. I can't even cross my legs without jiggling them. Andre said something once. He said, "Mom, you look like a woman in heat when you pump your legs like that." He can be so fresh. I wanted to slap him. And then suddenly, out of the blue, he wants to be an actor. So, drama club, singing lessons, dancing lessons, all of it. And I was his chauffeur for all this. I read a lot of good books sitting in the car waiting for Andre. Our gray dachshund drooling happily in the seat beside me. I got thanks. I got presents. I got "I love you." But I didn't get him. I got everything else but him. He was supposed to let me make him happy the way I'd never been. I was going to make him feel loved the way I never was. And then he was off to New York. He had a whole life of his own that didn't include me, and I was Andre's mother, the woman who bore him. He wrote something once when he was not much older than your boy. "God bless the Lord. God bless Mommy. She has good things in her oven."
That's lovely.
I was Andre's mother to him just as much as I was to any of his little friends. "Can I have a cookie, Andre's mother?" "You can if you call me Mrs. Gerard." But they never did. I wasn't a person to them. I was Andre's mother. I got pregnant when Andre was 4. I aborted it. I didn't tell anyone. I was waiting for the right time to tell Andre. It was going to be our final secret together.
Andre loved you, Mrs. Gerard.
Everybody says they love somebody. Words are the way we try to bridge the gap that exists between people, desperate to prove that it isn't there. "I love you" is the best we've come up with so far.
I don't agree with you.
I'm almost done, Mr. Porter. He moved to New York, and pretty soon there was a friend who became a roommate, who became a lover.
That would be me.
You took him from me forever.
All you had to do was open your heart to him.
I couldn't. I still can't. I don't know why. It doesn't even matter why. It sickens me. Even after all these years, the whole thing just sickens me.
Is it the sex? Two men physically intimate? Fucking, sucking, making love? All the things people do and are never going to stop?
It's everything. What kind of a life is that child going to have?
A better one than Andre's. A better one than yours.
There's only one thing I ever did to Andre that I'm ashamed of. If he were here right now, I would fall down on my knees and beg for his forgiveness. He had just moved to New York. I called him. It was late, very late. I woke him up. "What's the matter, Mom? Are you okay?" I was laughing, I was crying, I'd been drinking. I said, "Honey, guess what happened to your mom tonight? Your mom let a man pick her up in the lobby of the Adolphus Hotel, and he drove me in his car way out to the edge of Dallas, where it was still woody and dark. And he started to make love to me. I couldn't do it, and I asked him to take me back. He could have been very nasty about it, but he wasn't. I think he was married, too. do you think of your old lady now, huh, kiddo? Somebody still wants to fuck her. Andre didn't say anything. After a while, one of us hung up. We never spoke of it. I won't ask you if he shared that secret with you.
Thank you.
And after his father had had the first surgery for lung cancer, I told you there was only one thing, Mr. Porter. I lied. There were two. Two things that can never be taken back. I found Andre in the visitor's lounge. He was crying. I said, I know why you're crying. You're not crying for your father. You're crying because of what you are.
I know, Mrs. Gerard. He called me from a payphone there right after that. He was pretty devastated.
Can you imagine a mother saying that to her son? Her only child.
I'll get your coat.
Please.
I don't want the journal.
Neither do I. Thank you.
Ta-da! In lieu of martinis, Master Audrey Porter has provided Oreos this evening.
Evening? Oh, my God. What time is it? I've got to get going.
Honey, what happened to your head? Let Pop-Pop see.
Happy fixed it.
Well, did he give it a kiss and make it all better?
That's for little boys.
Of course I did.
Is he okay?
He's fine. That chair is much too wobbly. I told you this sort of thing was going to happen.
Here, I was crying too. These will make you stop for Oreos.
Thank you.
Do they have Oreos where you live?
I think they have Oreos everywhere.
You don't have to be my grandmother if you don't want. You're really good, Catherine.
What did you call me?
I'm sorry, Andre's mother.
No. No, I want you to call me Catherine. This is an excellent Oreo. I think it may be the best Oreo ever. I'm certain of it.
Aren't you going to drink your milk?
It's ice cold, just the way it should be. Excellent.
You have a milk mustache.
So do you.
Do you want me to tell you a story? I know how to tell stories, but you can't cry anymore, Catherine. Once upon a time, there was a boy with two fathers, Pappy and Pawpaw. They lived up high where they could see Spider-Man very, very close every Thanksgiving. They were blessed, but they had no grandmother. But one day they found one. She had a muff mustache, and her name was Catherine.
I warned you, Daniel. I know. I need a cigarette. Yeah, right. I was like slumped out from the thing. I thought it was so comfortable. Good for
Very hard finale. Thank
you told me to have the name. I mean, sang all the time. What a voice.
your pills yet? Hey guys! Oh my God! Oh my God! That was like the biggest surprise ever.
Were you surprised?
My mind wasn't on it. I was like in the zone, ready to go on, but that's not where my focus was. And then you're outside the door, and I can hear you. I really want to go outside. I really go out and say hi. Concentrate. I'm in the zone. It's a very happy place. How about them Yankees?
What's the next one?
I mean,
But, yeah, thanks to
last thing I was last
You don't have
year.
enough time to make all this stuff.
This is down the block. This is the first year here. The group was one of the winners of the
Studying, like, oh, okay, now I understand.
auditorium there.
But that, definitely.
At least for this place here.
Yeah.
And we did $5 theater. That share. Yeah, really. That's the splash zone.
I wasn't paying attention. There are lots of laughs.
Other audiences haven't laughed.
Well, that was a little more. That was appreciated.
A lot of the cultural references were laughed at more so than other, and it was fun. It was good.
No more chances.
I was going to ask you that also.
She was doing art and
She never said that she was going to make it.
With a show.
I don't know, 7 o'clock-ish.
Yeah. You can eat there.
You saw your people?
Language in this play. They're doing it at the school. Say hello to friend Ted, he's already at the bar. have wristbands, and then lots of connector, you leave just one this rotate through, so it's not massive grab. They go to the different stores in the village and they get drunk on the sidewalks and all the streets they did. That's
Now you can make up for it. Yeah, you can go for it. You know we're going to get pictures later.
somebody else had the Dalmatian. We couldn't bring it. We're so bad.
Please bring the Dalmatian.
Put a little life preserver. I'm going to introduce you.
Yes, of course.
I'm going to introduce you to my colleagues, my team.
Amanda, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. I'm sorry. That was a weird picture. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. We hear about you now. We get to see you. I know.
So, Karen.
Hi, Karen. Nice to meet you. Peter. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
I can't believe they came all this way.
This is awesome. That is so nice. We support each other. That's what we wanted to be a surprise. Was it a surprise? I hear about your group texts all the time.
No, wait a minute. That man. This is what's going on. What are you doing?
He's known me since I was 17 years old.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm still
You
in
always
the
be
way.
sweet and innocent now.
He's not the same.
You can't believe that. Bye, Patrick. Everybody.
You did great. You did great. Good job, buddy.
Sorry, bud. You were fantastic.
So cute.
I got you. All right, way to go, Patrick. We're going to do another show together eventually, right?
He's ready.
He's ready, absolutely. Knew his lines before everybody else did.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you so much. Awesome. Well done, buddy. Fabulous job.
So
That's perfect.
I didn't know there was. I didn't know there was a little person.
You didn't know this?
This is perfect.
Did he melt your heart?
It does. Yeah. Not that you wouldn't have. No.
He wants to work with kids.
See, now this crowd.
We all do.
This is the crowd that you see Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, sign me up.
Oh, we're good.
The crowd. They do the dirty version.
Outstanding. It's a parody. It's a musical parody of Silence of the Lambs.
Just sign.
Martin played Clarice. Martin played Hannibal Lecter.
And it is down and dirty and bad. Definitely satisfied years and
Yes,
when they do that, you need to come because we have so much fun. It's so much fun. And it's good. And it's like a total vamp on the original, but dirty.
His songs, he plays, our friend Kenny plays the Buffalo Bill.
Buffalo Bill.
And he plays it by, Are You a Fan of Science 14? That's one of his songs. Martin, as Hannibal Lecter, Martin sings If I Could Smell His Butt.
These are songs. These are written songs.
So when it comes, you have to come. You have to come. And we may like we re-record coolers. She plays. She basically, so she's not. So she's naked down the fun. But years, we're like,
We've come out after the show, and her and our friends and her family will sit here with full coolers full of drinks, and you'll hear like,
can we throw you guys up? But that's one you cannot miss. Oh my gosh, yeah, we'll let you know when that was. Come on. Oh my, and it's hysterical.
My friend Debbie holds a kid. She was trying to get the rights because there is a show, rights to a parody of Game of Thrones. But we didn't get them because Hatcher Theater is doing it, and we couldn't get the rights for it. We were going to do it this, I think we were going to do it this summer. Some of the parody shows are like, There's our dad. Come on.
let's go. Good. I'm
Very nice.
You got it.
It's so much fun.
We're going to go. We're going to pictures. All right.
Yes.
Bye, St. Paul. Thank you.
Alright, so say goodbye.
Yeah, that was the journey. Down that
We had a bunch of
that's what it is.
Who are you and what have you done with Karen? That's a dirty, rotten lie. That's an absolute dirty, rotten lie.
You can't keep up with you people.
Can we tell you one of our secrets?
Marianne. Marianne? No.
Just one. You see this glass of water?
Yeah, we're like this.
Again?
I said that in turn.
I was gonna know. I found my thing. Yes. No, it was a great.
Yes, I'm ready. You deserve it. Really? That much?
They took you up to the stairs.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, I'll get more.
How do you
Okay, so I'll get the box.
If they didn't know it is
All the props though.